Welcome to Her Unraveled Life, the podcast for kingdom women seeking simplicity and holistic wellness so they can step fully into who God created them to be. I'm Amy Wadlington, your host. As a holistic life and health coach, mom of two girls, and author who's overcome past trauma and lives with multiple autoimmune conditions and Epstein-Barr virus, I've experienced the profound changes that come with holistic health and walking with God. In each episode, we explore health, healing, and spiritual growth, unraveling the layers that hold us back, and boldly stepping into the vibrant life God intends for us. I'll be sharing insights of my journey of faith and healing to help us tackle the challenges of life and live fully in God's plans and purposes. God speaks to us through what we see, what we hear, what we smell, and what we taste. We know this intuitively, but to think about it consciously is a powerful way to discern His presence in our lives. When we are inspired by a song on the radio or the beautiful views of mountain flowers, when we're moved by the sight or smell of a sweet newborn baby, or when we're renewed by the cool water of a pond or river on a hot day, we're experiencing the creative goodness of God. Last week, we talked about emotional rest, and today we're going to continue our series on rest, and we're going to be talking about sensory rest. Sensory overload keeps us from fully experiencing life and God and what He has for us. I often consecrate my senses to the Lordship of Jesus Christ during my prayers in the morning so that I don't find myself in sensory overload and so that I can discern His presence and know what He is showing me through my senses. The enemy wants nothing more than to keep us from God, and if he can distract us through our senses, he certainly will. Imagine this. You're trying to finish up some important work on the computer. There's a toddler whining at your feet. There's a cartoon on the television in the background with the volume up way too loud. Your husband is in the kitchen blending up a smoothie. The dog is barking at a squirrel who you're sure is teasing the dog on purpose. And your 5-year-old walks in the room to show you a beautiful picture that she just colored for you, and you snap at her. Not right now. I'm busy. Ooh, I think we've all been there, and it's called sensory overload. I used to work in one of those modern offices where the cubicle walls were really low and the ceiling was exposed and open. It was basically an introvert's nightmare. There were these awful bright fluorescent lights, and it was really noisy from all of the people talking on the phone all day. And because of the openness of the room, they also had a white noise machine going on all day long, buzzing all day. I remember those days so well because I would drive home in complete silence. I didn't want the music on or even the windows down. I just needed peace and quiet before picking my girls up and getting overstimulated all over again. Sensory rest means taking a break from the constant sensory input that we face every day. We are bombarded with noise, light, and other stimuli all the time, and it can become really overwhelming. So, who, when, and why do we experience sensory overload? Well, it can happen to anyone at any time for various reasons. Multiple conversations going on in one room, flashing overhead lights, or a loud party can all produce symptoms of sensory overload. Oftentimes, when we think of an infant or someone on the spectrum or person with PTSD, when we think of overstimulation, but it can happen to any of us. Lack of sleep, high stress without stress management, not getting enough the right type of rest, not honoring our emotions and stuffing them, as we discussed on last week's episode, and not feeling valued, seen, or heard can lead to sensory overload. Stress and fatigue lead to overstimulation, and overstimulation can cause stress and fatigue, and it becomes this vicious cycle that we get stuck in. When my daughter was young, she would get sensory overload a lot. She was very particular about her clothes. They had to be soft, and she would get overwhelmed with certain sounds and too much chaos, or if there were too many transitions that she wasn't prepared for, and it would cause her to have a meltdown. We all have stressors, and we all have a certain amount of tolerance for those stressors. One way that I taught her to communicate with me that she had no more tolerance for additional stress was to tell me that her cup was full. This was her way of telling me that she was overwhelmed and she needed my help. This way, I could help her release stress or calm down before she got too overwhelmed. And it was a really powerful tool that I want to share with you. So, if you think of a glass of water, the water is basically stress. And as we add more water into the cup, that's additional stress, such as sounds, scents, lights, work, family, pets, finances, basically life. Life can add stressors. And the empty space or room at the top of the cup where there isn't water is our tolerance for more. Most people wake up in the morning with the glass with just a little bit of water inside or just a little bit of stress. They maybe didn't sleep really well, or maybe they have a test that day, so they have a little bit of stress. And as the day goes by and the dog has a mess in the house, or your kid misses the bus, or they forgot to do their homework and they tell you as you're walking out the door, or if you're running late, then water is added to the cup. And as the day goes on, more and more water is added. You can actually pour out some water by nurturing your body with healthy foods, going for a walk outdoors, closing your eyes, and breathing a few times a day. But if you are going through a really stressful season, or if you have past trauma or something in your life that's triggering consistent high stress, you wake up with your cup already full, which means that you have very little tolerance for more stress. And then the stressors of everyday life add to the water in your cup, and you're more likely to have sensory overload because your cup is full. So, next time you're going through a really stressful time in your life, remember this phrase and maybe use it with those who are closest to you as a signal saying, I can't handle anything more and I need help. Let's talk about how we can rest our senses. Number one is turn off all electronics. Give yourself a break from screens, including televisions, computers, and your cell phone, and even consider unplugging Wi Fi to reduce EMF signals. I know that you can't see the EMF signals, but they are actually adding to sensory overload. You can get a Himalayan salt lamp to help eliminate some of that, but really unplugging your Wi Fi is the best thing that you can do. And then number two is just close your eyes. Shutting out visual stimuli can help your brain relax and recharge. Number three is spend time in a quiet room. Find a peaceful space where you can escape from noise and distractions. And number four is go out to your car and sit in the quiet place. If you can't find quiet indoors, your car can provide a sanctuary of silence. If you're a mom, you have probably sat in a quiet car more than once. And number five is take a bath. Immerse yourself in warm water to soothe your body and your mind. You can add some essential oils with some Epsom salts to add to the sensation of relaxing. And then number six is listen to quiet, calming music or worship music. Let the soothing music calm your senses and uplift your spirit. And then number seven is practice deep breathing. Focus on slow, deep breaths to center yourself and relieve tension. Number eight is to journal. Write down your thoughts and your feelings to process and release stress. And number nine is remove toxic fragrances from your home and diffuse relaxing essential oils instead. You want to create a relaxing, calming atmosphere and enhance your sense of relaxation. Toxic fragrances like plug-ins or candles or even laundry detergent that's on your clothes, you're adding to the senses and adding to a stressor. It's another stressor that you're putting in your cup by having constant fragrance going, especially if it's toxic. So if you add essential oils instead that are calming, like lavender or peace and calming, stress away, those are some that I use from Young Living that are really calming and grounding. Valor, frankincense, those are a couple of other ones that are really good instead of having toxic fragrances going all the time. And then number 10 is wear soft, comfortable clothing. I don't know about you, but jeans on a high stress day just don't work for me. I need comfort. And I usually wear jeans when I'm outside the house, but I work from home. So I'm usually in comfortable clothes most of the time. But if I've had a stressful day outside the home, the first thing that I do when I get home is put something comfortable on because it really helps to reduce a lot of stress just by having a soft sweatshirt on or sit under a comfortable, soft blanket. It really helps to soothe your senses. So, I want to share a really powerful story from the Bible with you. In 2 Kings 6, when the servant of the man of God woke up in the morning, he found himself surrounded by an enemy army. Overwhelmed with fear, he cried out, "What should we do?" But the prophet Elisha assured him, saying, "Don't be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And then Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." And the Lord opened the servant's eyes, revealing chariots of fire all around them, protecting them from harm. They were surrounded by an angel army. And he said that there were so many more angels than there were enemies. This story reminds us that even when our senses are overwhelmed by fear, that God is with us and he's ready to reveal his presence and his power if and when we seek him through faith. Before we close, let's reflect on the relevance of the story of Elijah and his servant in 2 Kings. Sometimes our senses can be overcome by fear, just like the servant who couldn't see the angels surrounding them. His faith was tested on the face of overwhelming circumstances. Similarly, sensory overload can cloud our perception and hinder our ability to see God's presence and protection in our lives. By cultivating moments of sensory rest and turning to prayer and our faith, we can overcome fear and find peace even in the midst of chaos. So that's it for today, friends. But real quick before you go, if this podcast has blessed you in any way, the number one way that you can thank me is to leave a written review over on Apple Podcasts. The second thing you can do is take a screenshot of this episode or that review and share it on social media and tag me at Amy Wadlington. And then I will share you in my stories and give you a shout out. It not only blesses me, but you are creating a ripple effect by getting this message into the hands of others that might need to hear it. Also, I want you to know this profound truth. There is only one you. You are capable and you have limitless opportunities. Freedom and healing are available to you. Never underestimate the impact and the power that you have been given through the Holy Spirit. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, friend.